So another one of my finds in the Leicester vintage and old toy shop was Captain Jean-Luc Picard. And this was in his younger days as Captain of the Enterprise in the original 7-season series. And this is actually quite an interesting one because I remembered the jacket that he was wearing, but I couldn't remember exactly when it had come in. It seems to have come in season 5. So he was wearing it in the Darmok episode. I'm not sure that was the first appearance of it, but apparently Patrick Stewart was never a massive fan of the original uniforms, and so he ended up with this basically. And it's a rather nice little figure. This comes off, but there's this next generation communicator insignia shaped, and I think someone's put the Picard on the wrong way around. He's actually sort of standing on his own name, but anyway, so it's a nice articulated figure. As I say, it's got full elbow and shoulder joints, and they're still pretty stiff as well. And he's got knees, which is always nice. Feet aren't articulated, but can move from the hips as well. And his head can also rotate, as you can see there. So he's whoops. That's a very poor demonstration of his standing capabilities. But I quite like his the way his hands are placed, because he's got this sort of engage or make it so kind of expression going on. So I quite like that. I promise he does stand up by himself. I just can't get him to do it on command. There we go. That's better. So there we are. So he's quite happily standing, and I think he's a pretty good likeness really. But he also came with these accessories, which I thought was rather nice as well. So there you've got the sort of a terminal that used to sit on his desk, I think, in his ready room. And there is actually a tiny little schematic of the Enterprise on there as well, which is a nice bit of attention to detail. So it looks like an acoudogram. You've got, I'm assuming this is intended to be just a little sort of generic pad, which were their sort of versions of tablets, which are pretty good estimation of what they were going to turn out to be like, actually, back in the day. A phaser in the middle of firing. I haven't quite figured out how that's supposed to attach to his hand in a convincing fashion, but it's in there, and also a good old next generation foldy up tricorder. He doesn't actually fold. I should manage expectations there, but you can see that that's another pretty good approximation at this sort of scale of a tricorder. So I never collected these. I saw them in conventions quite regularly. I'll say regularly. I went to all 2 conventions in the mid-90s, but I think these are fairly easy to find. I think he was done by Playmates, this version. There have been various iterations of him down the years, from various different companies. But this, I'm familiar with Playmates because I've got a Vorchar class attack cruiser by them as well, which I was quite impressed with. They'd obviously put quite a lot of thought and effort into it. So in terms of what you got in the original packaging, I think that's a rather nice loose figure, and he's close enough to looking like Picard that I can stick him somewhere and people would recognise him as well, which is quite nice. So I might hide him in the house somewhere, see if people notice. So he wasn't terribly expensive, but just a lot cheaper than trying to find one mint in a box. Basically, if all you want to do is stick one somewhere, go for loose, and just do it in that way. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how many accessories he came with, because to be honest, I'd grabbed him in a hurry, and thought it'd be a novel thing to have, because I don't really have any Star Trek figures anywhere. Shed loads of starships, yes, but figures not so much. So if I was going to have one, that was probably the one I would have picked, and he caught my eye. So impulse buy and all that good stuff. So I shall move on to the next. Cheers for now.